Jack, welcome back to another Mayor's Hour.
This is a great location for it here, the kind of the heart of Tampa.
It is indeed, and we're going to get to talk about and perhaps do one of the things that I like to do too much, if you ask my wife, which is to enjoy a great cigar.
That sounds like a plan. It's a must for this show. I mean,
absolutely.
You can explain to your wife, you know, I had to do it. It's
it's just part of the job.
Show.
Take one for the team.
Had to smoke a cigar.
Well, we're going to learn about the cigar industry, and we're going to learn about one of the original cigar families. We are here at the J.C. Newman Cigar Factory. It is the oldest family-owned cigar company in America.
Yeah.
Just a long, long history in the cigar business. But also, more importantly, here in Tampa. I mean, they are one of the pioneer families.
Yes, indeed. And this is so great because, unfortunately, and it kind of reminds me of my childhood in West Virginia, back in coal mining country down in southern West Virginia. Everybody knew coal miners, everybody knew about the mines and everything, but people never got to go into the coal mines. The people who lived there, unless you were a miner, you never got into there. The government kept you from doing it. And it's unfortunately true of cigar factories. Unless you worked in a cigar factory, people who lived around here never went into a cigar factory, so basically people are going to get a chance to tour a great cigar factory today.
Well, and you think about it, and you think about Tampa's history, and you think about who settled Tampa and who the pioneers were. It largely revolved around the cigar industry.
Yep, that was the focal point for years and years and years and years. And of course, the city of Tampa saluted the man who brought the cigar industry here, Ybor, some time ago with a statue on the Riverwalk. And this is what he wrought right here, the J.C. Newman Tobacco Company.
Well, stay with us. It's going to be a great show. You're going to get to meet the Newmans that are running the business. We're going to talk about the Fuentes. We're going to talk about some of the great cigar families here in Tampa. But most importantly, we're going to talk about a big part of Tampa's history. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back, Jack. This is going to be exciting. This is, I mean, I love cigars. I do. I make no bones about it. And, you know, my kids give me a hard time on occasion, but it is one of my passions and something that I enjoy immensely.
Well, you should be. You're the mayor of the Cigar City.
Cigar City, the cigar capital of the world at one point.
That's right.
But this is great. And we have with us not the last generation, certainly, but one generation of the Newman family. Eric Newman is here with us today. He and his brother Bobby have taken the work of his father, and was your grandfather involved in this? Grandfather, to continue the legacy of the J.C. Newman Cigar Company. And as we said earlier, it is the oldest family-owned cigar company in America. And we're going to get to talk to Eric today. He's got some great stories about days gone by. He's going to tell us exactly what this is behind us. And he's going to tell us about the importance of the cigar industry to Tampa. And we're going to get to take a tour of this amazing restored cigar factory.
Oh yeah, this place is phenomenal. And again, it's a shame that everybody can't experience what we're going to experience today, being able to see this and learn about it and the great history here, like especially that clock. I love that. And he was telling us in advance about the clock, and we said, wait a minute, tell everybody out there. We got people out there that want to hear about that clock.
Well, Eric, tell us about the family history. Tell us how you got in the business. Tell us about how it's been passed from generation to generation, and where you are today.
I could say I picked my grandparents well.
You did.
That's one way. My grandfather was born in 1875 in Austria-Hungary. Hungary was owned by the Austrian government at that time. And in 1888, he came to this country with his 4 brothers, 2 sisters, the land of milk and honey like so many immigrants did, settled in Cleveland because there's a big Hungarian district in Cleveland. His brothers became tailors because that's what immigrants did. They made clothes. But Grandpa J.C. didn't want to make, he didn't want to make clothes. So his mother paid a cigar maker $3 a month to teach his son how to make cigars. He became a good cigar apprentice at the age of 15 in 1890. But in mid-1893, there was a big recession in Cleveland, laid off all the cigar makers, and he was sitting around home one day, mid-1895. And his mother, who wore the pants of the family, went to the grocery store every day because women didn't have refrigeration. So they'd go to the grocery, and my great-grandmother would tell the grocer, I buy all my cigars from you. I buy all my groceries from you. How about buying cigars for my son? So she came home with an order for 500 cigars. 1895, then my grandfather had to borrow $50 from his mother to buy 2 bales of tobacco, found some old boards, and converted the family barn into a one-man cigar factory. Grandpa J.C., 20 years old at this time, was a good talker. Got an order for 2,500 cigars from the local saloon. Cigars were sold in saloons in those days. Then he got an order for 10,000 cigars from Cleveland's largest wholesale grocer. He got so many orders, he couldn't make them all himself, so he got some of his other buddies who were also laid off at the time to come work for him in May of 1895. He had a pretty good business. The problem was that the barn wasn't heated where he was making the cigars. Winter comes, so he moves his whole operation, 5 rollers and himself, into the family basement. And after a couple of weeks, his mother discovered that her fruits and vegetables, which she had canned for the winter, start to taste like tobacco. Oh. So she kicks him out of the house, and he sets up a storefront in downtown Cleveland. When he started, there was 42,000 licensed cigar manufacturers in 1895. You have to have a license then, like you do today, to make cigars. And those 42,000 were the only one left that's still owned and operated by the founding family.
Wow, 42,000?
42,000, all little guys. Every little town had little breweries and little cigar companies. There's no national breweries back in the 1890s, no national cigar companies.
And I didn't realize that.
Yeah. It was a cottage
such a local thing. Yeah.
It was a cottage industry, and here we are 117 years later. Anyway, gone through the Great Depression. I mean,
still living in Cleveland.
Still in Cleveland, and in our 117 years, about 90 of them have been struggle years. Mm-hmm. Go into World War I was kind of interesting. Back before World War I, everybody smoked cigars. Nobody smoked cigarettes. But R.J. Reynolds and Philip Morris, during the World War I, sold a bunch of cigarettes to the Red Cross to send to our troops over in Germany during World War I. So all of our customers went to Europe as cigar smokers. They came back as cigarette smokers, mm-hmm. which was, we lost a lot of problem business then. Great Depression comes. My grandfather was kind of an innovator. At a time when General Motors plant was closed for 2 years, in Cleveland, my grandfather ran 2 shifts, making 2-cent cigars. Didn't make any money, but he kept people employed. World War II comes, and life was great for the cigar industry because the government bought 35% of every cigar manufacturer's output. That means your first 35% of your production is already sold.
For the soldiers?
For the soldiers, exactly. So life was great until after the war, then the government wanted to return them all. And the cigars were in lousy shape. They didn't keep them in humidors, they didn't rotate the stock. My grandfather grudgingly took them back, but it was a real struggle. My father came up with a new cigar to help us stay in business, which is called a Cameo. Cameo was the cigar that became the largest selling nickel cigar in the country. This is 1948. There's a magic about nickel cigars, and it was doing great. Largest selling nickel cigar in the Midwest, making 1 million cigars a week.
And how old was your dad at this point?
Dad was about 32.
Okay.
But he and his father, my grandfather, always didn't see eye to eye. As an example, they're going around in 1948 to a big distributor in the Midwest, and they said, Mr. Newman, I love your nickel cigar. I want to make your nickel cigar my company's nickel cigar. I want to give you an order for 500,000 cigars a week. My father just about fell off the chair. It was his invention. Goes to call the office, so excited. When he's out of the room, my grandfather tells the owner of the company, says, "Thank you for the order, but I'm not making any money on a nickel. Come Monday, it's going to 6 cents." And the owner said, "Mr. Newman, you don't understand. We don't want a 6-cent cigar. We want your Cameo to be our distributing company's nickel cigar." My grandfather's pretty stubborn. "Nope, it's going to go to 6 cents. My father came back in the room, found out what was happening. He was fit to be tied. Because Dad knew what would happen. Sure enough, it happened. My grandfather raised the price of his famous Cameo cigar from 5 cents to 6 cents. In 3 months, lost half the business. Ooh. And then tried to bring it back down to a nickel. It was gone. Lost their customers. They never came up. That was just one of the number of occasions.
I'm thinking of today. I have to go to an inflation calculator, but I'm figuring a nickel cigar then would be what, about a, I mean, yeah, nickel cigar would be what, about a $5 cigar today, $3 cigar, something like that?
A couple dollars anyway.
Yeah.
But nickel cigar was a big deal.
It's got a nice ring to it, too.
Yeah.
Nickel cigar. Yeah.
More than 6 cents.
Yeah.
So we're still in Cleveland. Why did we come down to Tampa from Cleveland? Well, my grandfather, back in the early 50s...
You were competing with Tampa companies at the time, weren't you?
Not exactly, but because we're making low prices of cigars. Our problem was, back in the early 50s, there were 5 big national companies making cigars. They were trying to run the little guys, like my grandfather, out of the business. The big companies grew their own tobacco. Maybe it cost them $3 a pound, but they offer the farmers $6 a pound. That they get averaged down with a little bit of what they bought, with a little bit of what they grew, so they have good at low average price. But the independents, like my grandfather, didn't grow their own tobacco, so they had to pay this fictitiously high price of $6 a pound. And Grandpa J.C. said, "We can't stay in business because they aren't playing, the rules were stacked against them. If we're going to stay in the cigar business, we have to find an area of the cigar business where the big guys aren't competing." In the early 50s, the big companies were only in the mass merchandise business. So my grandfather said, "We need to get in the premium business because the big guys weren't in there. Then we could compete." In the early 50s, there was only one section of the United States making premium cigars. That was Tampa, Florida. So at the age of 78, he moved his operation down from Cleveland.
And what year was this?
1953.
So were you born yet?
Oh, you're so kind. Bob, the campaign's over. You already got my vote.
Why is mayor?
I was, actually moved here on my 6th birthday in 1954. This was a place that was originally going to be a TV station. This whole factory, David Falk's family had it, but that didn't fell through. So my grandfather bought the factory here, started to make cigars, had a pretty good business here. Again, there were 10 big family-owned companies in the 50s making Cuban type of cigars. Cuban filler, Cuban binder, and Cuban wrapper.
How many of them were located here in Tampa?
Well, there was 10.
Okay, 10 families here in
10
Tampa.
families here making in the 50s.
In the premium space.
In the premium business.
Yeah.
In fact, we used to be able to get up on our roof and see all of our competition in the United States just from our roof, because Tampa indeed was the fine cigar capital of the world. Behind us is a building, this is a cigar factory, Perfecto Garcia. They had the top-selling cigar in Chicago, where the U-Haul factory is now. You've probably seen it.
Yeah.
It was home of Gold Label cigars, the #1 selling premium cigar. Bearing Cigars with the Corral family, been here forever, made cigars. Garcia Vega, our partners, the Fuentes. Villazon, the Inesta family, of course, have a Tampa. So this was truly, if you wanted to get a fine cigar in the 1950s, and it all came from Tampa, because this was where they were all made.
And Eric, for the viewers, Jack, those names that you just heard him mention are all names of Tampa families that have had a huge impact on this community and this community's growth, and continue to have a big impact.
And incidentally, too, you mentioned Have Tampa, being a bumpkin from southern West Virginia. That was the first time I had any acquaintanceship with the name Tampa. Was Have Tampa Cigars were up there, and you know, well, that sounds interesting.
They started in 1904, 1905, and I'll tell you what happened to them in a minute, but they should be in Tampa. They should be in Tampa today, but politicians got in the way, but some of our elected officials, but we wouldn't necessarily go there, but we are still here. But anyway, going back to the 50s, life was great, early 60s, until one day President Kennedy decided to have the Cuban embargo, and you may have heard that story that he calls Pierre Salinger. You've heard the story, into his office, sends him out one night to buy all the Chapman Petit Cuban Cronus cigars he can get, and then next day he signs the proclamation.
Had to save his supply.
Oh, yeah, so he'd have his Cuban cigars.
He was taking, but that was the beginning of the, I don't say demise, but the industry changed in Tampa after that, because one by one, and all of a sudden they're making their famous cigars out of Tampa with Cuban tobacco. The government says you can't have any. And Cuba had a popular name then like it does now. But when the embargo was announced, all the factories were eating their inventory of Cuban tobacco. In fact, one of our competitors, Garcia Vega, put on their boxes and they said, yes, we still have Havana. My father got nervous in the early 60s. As soon as the embargo was announced, he was trying to compete with Garcia Vega, so he kept one bale for the 1958 Pinar del Rio crop. So anybody ever asked him, Stanford, do you have Cuban tobacco like Garcia Vega does? He said, of course we do. We still have the same bale in the basement today.
You can still say we still have
pre-embargo Cuban tobacco. But unfortunately, most of the other companies, they merged with other companies. They closed their doors, went out of business, and we formed up a great partnership with the Fuentes, which we'll probably talk about in a moment. But for a long time, factory after factory closed, and it was just us in Tampa for a number of years, and then Congress put in this enormous price increase on cigars, this tax increase back in 2009, and Tampa at that time had sold themselves. They had sold to the Spanish tobacco monopoly, and they also had a factory in Puerto Rico, and when the big tax increase was announced, they decided that there wasn't that much future in that type of business, so they closed Tampa, moved their facilities, moved their production to San Juan, Puerto Rico. So unfortunately, it's gone from Tampa to San Juan. But
Not quite the same ring to it.
But we're still here. But it's been a struggle, and what really turned around for our company, our family, was our partnership with Carlos Fuente. Dad had known Carlos for many, many years back in the 50s when Dad was president of the Cigar Manufacturers Association of Tampa. And Carlos had a factory start up in Dominican Republic in 1980. In 1986, my father bought out our relatives. It was a family business. Dad owned a third, my uncle owned a third, and the sisters owned a third. 1/3 bought out 2/3. So they got the money, we got the debt and the opportunity. For a long time, we thought they got the best end.
I love that.
The best
We got
end.
the debt and the opportunity.
The opportunity.
And this was the time, 1986, cigar business wasn't very good. It was going downhill. And sometimes decisions are made with the head, sometimes they're made with the heart. I told Dad, I think this time we probably made the decision from the heart instead of the head. He said, it's okay, son, it'll work out, it'll work out. It did work out. Interesting, 3 weeks after we closed the deal, where we had the debt, which was a negative equity on our books, Carlos Fuente called my father. He had a factory in Tampa, now Tampa Sweethearts.
Right, sure.
And making cigars there, and Carlos said, told Dad, I'm making some good cigars in Dominican Republic, his famous Fuente cigars. I think 858 was his big seller at the time. He said, I'm looking to close my factory in Tampa and just concentrate all my production in the Dominican Republic. Would you be interested in making cigars for us in your factory here? And Dad said, yes, but Carlos, we want to get in the handmade cigar business too. How about making cigars for us? Because we knew once we had this business that our future was going to be getting in the handmade business as well as the cigars we made here. And Dad said, and Carlos said, sure. So they formed a partnership in 1986. Carlos started making cigars for us. Our first brand was La Unica. We have our famous brand was Cuesta Rey. In 1988, we transferred over to the Fuente factory. We thought about having somebody make handmade cigars for us for a long time, but our cigars are like our children. We're very concerned and very careful who we're going to let make our kids, our products. But we trusted Carlos Fuente, so in 1988 he made a Cuesta Rey. And Carlos's strength, Fuente's strength was always was making cigars. They had the best hand-making operation in the world, but they never had their own sales organization. They sold through brokers. Our company, on the other hand, we had a good selling and distribution team, but we never had our own hand-making facilities. So in 1990, we started to distribute the Fuente cigars as well as our cigars. And you have to remember, this is before the cigar boom. Life was still tough, but it helped us because our salesmen could make a sales call, and they had two types of cigars to sell. So in the early 90s, we formed this partnership with the Fuentes, a distribution agreement, a distribution partnership, pretty much on a handshake. So Fuente can concentrate what he does best, which is make the best cigars in the world without having to be all that concerned about selling and distribution. And we could do what we do best, selling and distributing without being concerned about making cigars by hand. We have this, here it is, 2013, and we've had this, relationship since for 27 years now, which is pretty amazing, and we've been supporting each other ever since.
Well, we're going to go downstairs to the basement and see exactly what he's talking about. And I want to hear the story before we leave about this pretty amazing clock. So bear with us. We're coming back in just a couple minutes, and we're going to see as a real cigar factory in work. Well, we're back. We are in the bowels of this cigar factory. We learned on the way down here, Jack, a lot of cool things about the cigar factories and how they're made and how all the factories in Tampa were built exactly the same.
Yeah, 3 stories. They do a certain thing in the basement, what they're doing here, and do certain things in the middle floor and certain things on the top floor. They all face in the same direction, east and west, so they can get the northern sun, because it was back when they didn't have electricity. And I don't know what all that. We learned, and they're all red brick.
And they're all red brick. And when you walk down here, you can smell the tobacco. I mean, it permeates the building. It really is a neat smell. With us right now is Andy. He's been at this for 20 years.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And he's going to tell us exactly what it is that he's doing and how this process starts. So, Andy, work your magic.
Okay. Basically, what we do here is we bring up the tobacco. It comes in very dry and compressed. And what we have to do is we have to force moisture into it to enable us to open the leads up. And then once we get the leads open, then we fill a vat full of water, and we totally submerge the whole stock in the water. And then we shake off the excess water. Then we place it in these boxes. After we place it in these boxes, the fermentation starts, where it starts building up a tremendous amount of heat and bring like ammonia-like odor from the fermentation of it. Then we have to shake it out every other day or every day. It depends on the way the wrapper is going, because as we work it, as we shake these leaves, we go through a process of shaking them like pom-poms. And what we're doing is we're allowing the cool air to go between the leaves and cool it off, and also distract the excess water that we placed in it when we totally submerged it. And then this way, when the fermentation builds up the next day, we cool it down, we air it out, we take it through the same process. These are going from one box to another.
So this is a natural process using only the tobacco and water, basically.
Yes, sir.
And the fermentation process without any chemicals is just something that naturally occurs.
Yes, sir.
And you have to shake every one of these?
Everyone.
People aren't aware of what all goes into getting this tobacco prepared, ready to make cigars with it.
Right.
We had our hands down in these leaves at one point over there, and it was steaming. It was hot. It was like it would burn your hand down there.
Right. That's the fermentation. Also, as we go through it and we open the leaves up, and then we see what is not good to make a cigar, and then we place it to the side so that we can continue on with the fermentation. But whatever is not good, we also use it. It becomes part of the blend, because upstairs what they do, they grind it up and whatnot. So
that would be a lower price point cigar as opposed to the premium cigars.
Right.
Now these are Maduro leaves, which in Spanish means dark, right?
Right.
So tell me the difference between.
Pretty
Pretty good. I've been in Colombia for a week.
Wow.
You know, I'm practically fluent.
That's pretty good.
I was saying words that don't exist.
I can only imagine.
I'm lucky I didn't create an international incident, actually. Tell us about the difference between Maduro versus the lighter colored tobacco. And tell us about the Connecticut leaf and where that comes from, and why people say Connecticut. You can't grow tobacco in Connecticut.
You don't think of that as a tobacco state at all.
Well, it's basically the difference in the leaves. It's the strengthening. The black wrapper is really a rough tobacco where we can totally submerge it underwater.
So when you say rough, it's stronger, it's
Right.
not real thin and delicate.
Right,
yeah.
right. It's really thick and it's able to withhold the water. The other wrapper, like you say, the shade, the green and whatnot, they're thinner. They're thinner leaf and they cannot hold excess water. So therefore we have to put a fine mist. In the back we have a conveyor that rotates.
Right.
And we have several rubber bands that we put them every other rubber band. And we have this humidifier that blows, you know, just light mist of water.
As opposed to submerging them like you do
Right,
with Maduro.
right. So what it is, and then we got heaters in there. So that little mist of water goes on that leaf and they heat cooks it in it to make it tender in order for it to stretch on the dials so that the ladies can make a cigar out
Wow.
of it.
So where do you go from here? You submerge them, you shake them, you submerge them, you shake them, and then you move them over here?
Yes, sir.
And what happens in this? Is this where they just dry out?
Right. Well, we're here. What it does, the fermentation take place again, and it start building up the heat because as long as it got water in there, the fermentation is going to continue to go. So therefore, what we have to do is we look at it, and it depends on the supply and the demand.
Right.
Because it's just like a fine wine. The longer you allow it to ferment, to set up, the better the quality, the taste, the aroma, you know, and the way it burns and everything. So it depends on the supply and the demand, how demandful that this tobacco is at hand that we rush the cycle of it.
Well, the complexities of the development of this tobacco is so much more than I ever imagined. And you tend to think, well, the tobacco comes in, you chop it up, and you get your leaf and put it around it, and that's it. This is so complex.
Yes, yes. It's very hands-on because there's a lot of money involved here. And for you to not look at it and make a precise judgment and say, okay, this is what I need to do. Do I need to maybe use these spray bottles and add more water to it? Because what you want it to do is you want it to come evenly. And a lot of times we may not get enough water in a certain stall of the other one, so then we have to add a little water to it. You know what I'm saying? So that the color will come out just right. So it can be evenly colored. And then we have to say, well, it's got too much water in it, so then we have to shake it out additional time every day until we get the excess water out of it. Because if not, then it will deteriorate.
Yeah.
Because of the fermentation, because of the heat that it builds up from you adding water to it, that when you shake it, if you don't shake it out every other day or every day, it'll just deteriorate. When you shake it, everything just falls on the floor.
And how long
So
does
tender.
that process take before you can get it up on where ladies can roll it?
About 4 weeks.
4 weeks. Wow.
About a
I
month.
wasn't aware of that either.
Yes.
And where does this tobacco come from?
This particular one, this comes from Kentucky. We're trying something new. Usually we get it from Connecticut, but this particular wrapper comes from Kentucky.
Yeah, now that doesn't surprise me. Kentucky is a tobacco state, North Carolina, all those. The Connecticut thing, if I hadn't heard it on the Radio Cigar Dave show or something about Connecticut wrappers or whatever. Where did you learn the skills that are necessary to be able to really baby this tobacco the way you do?
Well, when I first came here in '83, there was a guy named Bill Reynolds. He ran this department, but my experience with tobacco started, I guess, when I was a little kid. My uncle, who my mother named me after, her mother's brother name was Andrew too, and he worked in the cigar business, and he did the same thing. He worked in the basement, and he was a curer. He brought tobacco up, so I guess it was just in my genes.
Wow.
And I just have a knack for it.
It wasn't those cigarettes that you used to snatch from your dad and smoke on the side, was it?
No.
Okay. All right, just checking, Andy, just checking.
Really chewing tobacco.
Oh, there we go.
But yeah, so basically, if you guys want to take a swing at it, I could give you a couple of stalls, and you can just do it like pom-poms and see how it feels and what it's like.
Let me check that out. I've always wanted to be a cheerleader anyway. I never could make it.
Well, let's not. We don't want to talk about that, Jack.
So what I'll do is, I'll get pretty much here in the front
So
of you guys.
you think I have a future after being mayor?
Oh, yes, man. You come right here. Love to have you.
The problem is I would smoke all the profits. All right, so what do we do, Andy?
All right, we're just going like this here. You got it. Jack, you got a little work to do. Come on, kick the leg up or something a little bit.
Well, I'm getting ready to cheer. Go Bulls, go Bulls.
All right.
He's got no rhythm, Andy. Let's face it. He's got no rhythm.
So you guys can hand it to me, and then I will. We have to put it in here pretty tight because they have to be airtight because of the fermentation and the heat that's going to be built up in it. You got to seal it up and make sure that there's no cracks or crevices in there, because when we put the burlap over it, it will cause a dripping, you know? So you want the heat to come up evenly. That way it won't, you know, soak the butts or anything.
Wow, this is complex.
So you got to go in there really tight so no air can get through there.
That's amazing.
Pack it down.
And it just cooks.
Yes, it cooks. So that's our process.
Pretty amazing stuff. Andy, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Great lesson in how this all works. And we're going to be right back. We got more exciting things to show you. We're actually going to go to the next step in the process where they are rolling the cigars. Stay with us.
Okay, ready? Alright. Yeah, the grab the top one. Yeah.
We'll go from 4,000 a day to 1 a day.
You're doing good.
No, I'm not.
For the first time.
Cover that little thing there. These will be kind of Reloj cigars.
That's all right. That's the one belongs to him.
Yeah, that would be the one I'm smoking.
Oh my Lord. Looking at the difference in hers and yours. Oh. Hey, you did good on that.
You're getting backward.
Eric, I'm going to put you out of business.
What's your finger?
One cigar a day and it would be bad.
You made it look so easy. You make it look so natural.
I guess if you do it a couple thousand times a day.
Yeah, I guess so. That'll make a difference. I can see a special now.
You go the wrong side.
The Mayor Bob wrinkled cigars.
That's the wrong side, right?
Wrong side?
You have to go on like this, on this way.
Well, I didn't even know it made a difference. I thought you could lay it out either way. Now that one looks good. That one's not wrinkled.
All right, I'm done. I'm a better mayor than I am a cigar roller. Jack, we are up on the factory floor where they're actually rolling the cigars. With us today is TT, who has been doing this for how many years, TT? 3 years. As you can tell, she does it a little bit better than I do it. And she rolls 4,000 cigars a day.
And, well, it's amazing. It just seems so simple for her. But again, I guess you do it for that long. It is very, very simple. But that little threadbare tobacco that she stretches across there, and of course, it boggles my mind that this machinery is 80 years old. And
You know, and look at this, Jack. It's perfect.
beautiful cigars. Look at that. Now, those are premium hand-rolled cigars. Wow.
Now, TT, tell us what you're doing.
Okay, first of all, I grab this wrapper and lay on this die and let them go. This thing see the carrier head right here? They're going to pick out the wrapper.
All right.
Yep, and then they'll take them back. They're going to roll on that cigar. And then them done. They come out here.
And this is all the wrapper? Is this the final process in the making of the cigar?
Yeah.
And you do this all day long?
Yep. Right.
And then you go home and smoke a cigar?
Nope.
Do you smoke cigars?
No, sir.
Oh, my.
If I had to do it all day long either, I'd probably quit. So, you've done all these today?
Yeah.
Wow.
Don't put my bad ones in there. I don't want you to get in trouble.
I take some out. Right here,
That was mine, Jack. This is how not to do it.
That's a lame cigar.
Yeah, I don't know who's going to smoke that one. I think I'd put this company out of business if they let me do this. So do these machines break down often?
sometimes, quite a bit. You know, sometimes when I come in with a bad day, it maybe broke down a lot. Maybe sometimes all day long. But like this week, I have a pretty good day.
Now, do you come on the same machine every day? Is this your seat?
Yes, sir.
This is TT's seat.
Yep.
And during the peak season, are all of these machines busy?
Yeah.
Wow, that's unbelievable.
That is. I mean, this is a huge, huge area where they're doing this. And I guess the same kind of thing is happening at every one of these locations.
So do you have contests to see who can do the most cigars a day?
Not really. This machine is going a little bit slower. But some machine is going faster.
Really?
Like that one is going faster than this one.
Huh.
This one going like, I think 11 or 12 per minute. That one they go like 13.
Wow,
minutes.
13 per minute.
Yeah.
Now you have a foot pedal to run this thing, is that right?
Yeah, on my right,
So
right
you can
foot.
stop it or keep
Yeah,
it
every
going
time, yeah.
depending on how you're doing it.
So after you drink a cup of Cuban coffee, you go faster, right?
Oh, yeah.
And what'd you do before this, TT?
I'm working at Tampa.
Oh, you worked at Tampa. All right. And how long were you there?
14 years.
Wow. So you've been doing this for the same job?
We do the same job, but we different kind of work.
Okay.
Yeah. Over there, you know, we just control the machine. But here, I have to sit here and do them on my hand.
Right.
Over there, I just turn on the machine, let them run by their own. And then I just check it out, which one's good or bad, and take it out.
Okay. Sort of quality control.
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
And again, these are the wrappers here, and then it goes into there and picks up the rest of the tobacco and all those stuff together.
I will never think about cigars in the same way. All right, TT, thank you. We'll be right back. We are now in the place where the product hits the streets, to the retailers, to the vendors. We've been joined by the other brother, Bobby Newman. And as you heard from Eric, this is a long generational history, starting with their grandfather and continuing with their dad, and now the two brothers here are running this. Bobby, it's been an amazing day so far. I mean, I've learned more about cigar making than I ever knew before.
Well, Mayor Bob, people drive by here and have no idea what's going on down here.
Well, that is so true. And I mean, what a complex industry is happening here.
The best part is that we have over 100 American citizens making 60+ thousand cigars a day. Eric and I are third generation, as you alluded to. We're a 117-year-old company. We have a fourth generation coming in, Eric's son, and
that's right.
My two children are still in high school.
Yeah.
Happy to do it. We love showcasing Tampa families and Tampa history. I mean, I'm reminded of the Gonsmarks and the way the company is being passed from generation to generation. And that's great that the 4th generation is coming through.
Right, we're very proud of that.
And Mayor, I think you may have a future as a cigar maker. After your term as mayor, we saw you on that machine.
Eric, you guys would be broke if I was up there rolling cigars.
I've already come up with a product, Mayor Bob's Wrinkled Cigars.
Now, don't be hard on yourself or on...
Don't trust me. I watched how good those cigars turned out, and it was not good, Bobby. It was...
They pulled them, by the way. Don't worry about buying one of those. They pulled them.
There's something called the learning curve.
Yeah, for me, that's straight up.
Well, you'll notice we have all women making cigars, and they have better dexterity. With all due respect.
Clearly, yeah.
Us guys, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't do so well.
Yeah. No, I love the cigar industry because it is our heritage here. In fact, we've talked about this before. I was the one that was behind getting the cigar festival started here when I saw they had one up in Cincinnati. And I said, what? We don't have one in Tampa Bay. And then it came down here, and of course we cranked it up in '92. But
This is certainly the cigar city, because any family that's lived here for 3 or 4 generations, chances are that their family worked in the cigar industry because those were the only jobs around.
my partner, Ted Webb's dad, was a cigar roller, or whatever they did back then, with electors that they had back in the old days, and they did everything by hand. But there's a picture of him sitting working in one of the cigar factories, and you can see the lector up there who's reading to the cigar workers to, I guess, kill the boredom or something like that.
Right. It would either read the news of the day or read novels. The 3rd floor, I don't care if you went up to the 3rd floor, but we still have the lector stand there.
You really
read. And all the hand cigar makers would be in front of him. That's, of course, before they had electricity and before they had Muzak and so forth, even before the radio was invented.
But you know what's fascinating is those first generation cigar workers who came here, you know, Cuba, Spain, Italy, you look at their generations now, their kids and their grandkids, you know, they worked hard to give them a better chance in a country that they came to, having left everything behind. And now these kids are lawyers and mayors and doctors, and I mean, but it all stems from the cigar industry that built this city to what we know today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you imagine what it was like in mid-July and August up there rolling those cigars before electricity and AC and
Well, let me
all those
tell you,
things?
this factory, which is 102 years old, was not air conditioned until 1996, 1997. And everyone had their own little fans. And the humidity, because Tampa's such a great place to make cigars anyway because of the high humidity. But it was, I guess you get used to it. You know, we all grew up without air conditioning and back in our earlier days. And I tell you, we were so spoiled today. Oh, yeah. The air conditioner breaks in your car and you have a panic.
Oh, yeah, you do.
Well, Tampa is a natural humidor. That's one of the reasons why Vincent Martinez Yvor brought the cigar industry from Key West in 1886 to Tampa. They were looking for a place that was close to Cuba, that had a seaport, which we did, had a railroad line, which Mr. Plant took care of, but also had the humidity that was kind of like Tampa. Because 10 months out of the year, it's hot and humid. Not good for the people.
I never thought of that, yeah.
Great for the cigars and great for the tobacco.
Great for our complexion, you know, we gotta look good.
Yeah, we all look great, especially for our
We're
age.
so pretty.
I don't know about that, Bob. You look good. I have a rough life.
Oh, no, we all, we're obviously we're just kidding.
So what's going on here? Tell me about this.
This is we call this maybe a typical distribution center. But what we're doing, we're picking orders. We do about 500 orders a day. And so what you'll see, like, to pick up, here's an order going to Tobacco Town, Las Vegas, and has some Arturo Fuente cigars, has some Diamond Crown cigars. So it's being packed or picked behind me. It gets packed by the 5 packers, and then it's checked, and then it goes on a UPS truck. There's a tractor trailer, a 40-foot tractor trailer waiting for us. Wow. And at 5 o'clock tonight, every one of these people whom we have shipped will receive a copy of this pick ticket, and also will receive a copy of the UPS tracking number so they can track it themselves. But it's all about service.
Right, sure.
And we're not Amazon.com, but we try to ship within 24 to 48 hours.
We ship to retailers, smoke shops. Most of our customers are mom and pops.
Right.
Every town has 4 or 5.
Like in Edwards Tobacco over on
Exactly.
Henderson, yeah.
Exactly. We're the heart and soul of the people. That's what made small business, medium-sized business, made America great what it is today. And that is our customer base.
I used to sit at Edwards Tobacco with E.J. Salsinas.
Talk about people who can tell stories.
Yes.
My
Oh,
God.
yeah, he is a storyteller.
E.J. actually got me started on the Fuente Hemingways. And the short stories, because I never had much time.
Right.
So all I could do was focus short stories, sitting there at the bar. It's not really a bar. With EJ, listening to EJ tell stories. I mean,
He knows more about the cigar. He knows more about the cigar industry than any other living person, I think, in Tampa.
now, these are Newman products on this side, and this is Fuente on this side. Is that what I was talking about?
Right, exactly.
And we ship them together. That's why we Fuente on one side, JC on the other. We ship them together. So we put our one shipment, 2 different products,
Right.
2 different brands. It's like the economies of scale. So it's a win-win for the retailer, win-win for us.
That's great. That's great.
We ship all 50 states out of here. We also export to 81 countries. And we have an office. 81 countries. You should see some of these health warnings. They have to be in multiple languages. And we have an office in London as well, small office. And our export business is actually growing faster than our domestic business.
Wow.
Despite.
But 90% of our business, this is the biggest market in the world. 90% of our company's business in the good old United States of America.
That's great. And what state is the largest seller? Can you tell for you guys?
I'd say
Maybe Florida, maybe the South, because you can smoke all year round. Unfortunately, one of the threats to our industry are smoking bans.
Yeah.
You can't smoke inside many places. So in the wintertime, if it's 20 degrees in New York,
You don't want to go outside and sit on your porch and smoke.
exactly.
That's true.
Yeah. I've had that problem a time or two.
And you've had to fight the stigma from cigarettes because you have some people who aren't familiar with cigars that don't know what they're talking about, and they're always talking about a ban and oh, it causes this or causes that, and that kind of thing. And I know you've had to fight that along with the taxes and other onerous problems that are associated with people who don't know cigars and don't know the cigar industry at all.
Tobacco's got an ugly name, big bad tobacco. Unfortunately, more times than not, we get lumped under this one-size-fits-all solution to issues. The government's concerned about kids getting hooked on cigarettes and some tobacco. When we're the tobacco business, but we're actually in the relaxation business. We're in the pleasure business. We're the mayor, after a stressful day, not that you have any stressful days at City Hall, of course, you can light up a cigar, put your feet up, and all is right with the world for that next hour. It kind of relieves the stress. And there's not many other products that do that, so we've been attempting to tell our elected officials that cigars are different, premium cigars are different. People smoke cigars because they enjoy it. They're not addicted to it, they just enjoy it.
You don't inhale them, and I'm a classic example. I was an old cigarette smoker way back, heavy cigarette smoker. Haven't in a long time, but now on a weekend I'll enjoy a cigar, and with a beverage, beer.
Yeah, well, the average average premium cigar smoker in America smokes 1 cigar a week.
Yeah.
And it's not habit forming. Like Eric was saying, it's like when you drink cognac, you don't do it every day. And it's all about relaxation. But going back to distribution here in our shipping department, we ship all 50 states. We have over 3,500 direct accounts, like a smoke shops like Edwards, or a Tinderbox or Tobacco Depot or whatever. And and they get shipped. Usually they're shipped on about every 2-week cycle rotation. We have salesmen across the country. But to answer your question, I think Jack and Bob, the highest consuming states for us, our biggest customers are in California, Texas, Florida, and Pennsylvania. Then you have Ohio and Michigan. And we can tell you the economy just about in every state, basically how they smoke
Based
shops.
on the sale of your premium cigars.
Right.
Now, is the economy getting better? Are people buying more?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Oh, that's good news. We got an early indicator.
The economy's going up in smoke.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
That's a good way to put it.
You know, my mom is, she's 91 years old listening, and she said, don't ever tell anybody 101 my age. And
Uh-oh, Mom.
You know, so
Bobby
Buckhorn
did it.
there.
Bobby did it, not me, Miss Newman. I went.
But people used to ask my mom growing up, how do you like the cigar business? And her famous line was, I would eat the butts. You know, she was driving it and wearing it and everything else. So,
Well, are you going to smoke that one? What is that one now? I've never smoked anything.
This is a Diamond Crown. In fact, look how for you a cigar.
All right.
We're a cigar-friendly cigar factory here. Jack?
Here, let me take this.
We got cellophane on here.
Yeah. Okay. Here, let me just take this off. There's a nick in it. Here you go. Let me take this one. Okay. And this is a Diamond Crown Robusto. I mean, it's a. Why don't you cut Jackson? I'll cut this one.
Okay, I was going to say, this is fancier than what I normally
Usually
smoke.
bite it off,
It's
right?
not, this is not your Swisher, sweetie.
Exactly. Don't ruin his, you know.
His image, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
this is a great cigar.
This cigar is made in the Arturo Fuente factory in Santiago. It's a Connecticut shade wrapper. It's been double fermented. Got a 94 rating in Cigar Aficionado. There are 7 leaves in there. There's 5 leaves of long filler tobacco. Every one of them is rolled like in a straw. And then they're put together by a hand cigar maker, and they roll the binder, which is a Dominican binder, grown in the Dominican Republic. And then it's given to someone else who rolls the outside leaf. Wow. The outside leaf, the wrapper, it's called the wrapper, gives the cigar over 50% of its taste. And very, very smooth cigar. This is
This is the best part.
Oh, that's a flamethrower.
Mayor's been a cigar smoker from way back here. Got the flamethrower here.
and you both are 18, correct? Over 18?
We are,
Okay.
sadly.
Okay.
As Cigar Day would say, you rotate and puff, rotate and puff.
Okay, let me give you a little bit more.
What's Cigar Dave here when you eat them, right?
Yeah.
That should do it.
You know, despite the fact you can't.
Oh, that is tasty. It's much better than those things I've been smoking. I don't know where they come from.
I do.
I know what I want to start getting. You might be right.
You know, despite the fact you can't. I remember when Eric and I got in the business in the early 70s, you could smoke in your offices, the mayors or governors or whatever, and now you can't. Despite that, the industry, the premium cigar industry, it's growing about 3% a year across the United States, which we feel very fortunate. And Jack, let me just give you a little more.
Bobby, I used to, when I was the assistant to the mayor, to Sandy Friedman, back in the 80s, during staff meetings, I used to smoke a cigar during the staff meetings.
Did you really?
Yeah, in the mayor's office.
Wow.
We call those the good old days.
The good old days. Now, that was the same mayor's office that I used to bring my dog in on the weekends, because I'd work all weekend long, until the dog got fleas in the mayor's office. And Sandy was not happy when the flea bit her on the ankle.
But you saved your job.
I did.
That's good. But tobacco is great for fleas. We have tobacco dust. It's good for your yard. It kills chinch bugs. It's good to kill the fleas.
I've heard that, yeah.
It's
Now,
great.
now, you guys don't sell tobacco dust here out of this product, do you? I mean, out of this factory?
We have it available.
You have it available?
Yeah.
And but it's also, the tobacco is so full of nitrogen that it's, not only will get rid of the fleas, they'll go on the other, they'll force them into your neighbor's yard, but also it'll make your grass greener than you've ever seen it.
Wow.
Of course, it's all
I
natural.
may have to meet you at the back door of the factory. You can give me some tobacco dust.
Absolutely. We can make a deal.
I got plenty of dogs.
Oh, this is great.
The cigar business is alive and well in Tampa, I want you to know.
Oh, that's great.
We have Tampa Cigar Company, which is one of the largest mail-order cigar companies in the world. We have Oliva Tobacco. They're one of the largest tobacco dealers in the world. They're over in the old Villazon building, which old Garcia Vega
Now,
factory.
Thompson is the Francois family?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
And we have a new neighbor on the other side. Davidoff has moved into Pinellas Park, so all the Davidoffs are distributed from the Tampa Bay area.
Is that just as a distributorship? They're not rolling over there like
Correct.
Okay.
But it's still a prominent presence here. Even though the cigar industry in Tampa isn't what it used to be, it's still got a prominent presence here. And the Fuentes have their headquarters here, as well as ourselves. And you went through our factory, and you really aren't that bad of a roller, Mayor.
I'm terrible, Eric. I'm terrible. I'm a better mayor than I'm a roller.
Well, yes, you are. Yes, you are.
That's not saying much.
You have to agree with them so much, Bobby.
Well, from the Newman Cigar Factory and from Bobby Newman and Eric Newman, Jack and I will be right back. it's a great family. It's a great Tampa family with a great history and a great heritage. This city wouldn't be what it was without families like the Newmans. Guys, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for the cigar.
Thanks for come back anytime.
By all
We
means.
will.
And Jack, hope the spirit in your swish is sweet, by the way.
I think you just broke him of the habit.
I think so. This is quality, man.
We'll be right back.
Well, Jack, this was a fun show. Yeah, this was a fun show.
Has been. And can you imagine ending a show with a big old stogie?
Now, you know, it doesn't get much better than that. And you know what this really reflects, other than our affection for cigars, is Tampa's history. I mean, Tampa's very, very colorful history, and some of the pioneer families that came here that were involved in the cigar industry that helped build this city.
And through this Mayor's Hour, people who will never get to visit a cigar factory have had a chance to see the cigar factory. In fact, we've got to get the word to Cigar Dave because people all over the country can watch the Mayor's Hour this month and see what it's like at the J.C. Newman Cigar Factory.
And even if you're not a cigar smoker, to know the history of Tampa and to know how important the cigar industry was to Tampa is awfully important. And if you are a cigar smoker, it's even better.
Oh, it gets better. These are great cigars. You're right. I think I've changed my habit.
Yeah, I think you have. Well, thanks for joining us for the first show of 2013. We got a busy year ahead of us. We're going to be bringing you a lot of great shows, showcasing a lot of great things in Tampa. I hope you had a great New Year, and we got a lot of work. Let's get to work. We'll see you.
You betcha.